Here are some notes on Lesson 10, Jesus' Triumphant Entry. The key points, number one, Jesus is our conquering king. That's the heart of this lesson, is that Jesus is a king, that people treat him that way. And that should be a picture that kids are able to understand pretty easily. King's in charge, and that's what Jesus does in our lives as well. Second key point, we praise Jesus just as the people did 2,000 years ago. Their joy was really evident, really clear as Jesus was entering the city. And hopefully that's true in our lives, not just on Sunday mornings in church or in Sunday school, but throughout our lives. The joy that Jesus gives us will be apparent to people around us. Some of the storytelling items, 33 years pass between the occasions when Jesus is called the King, and that's Christmas and Palm Sunday. Think of the wise men coming to worship Jesus and saying, we've come to worship this king. Then 33 years pass, and a lot of that is just pretty normal life. Jesus grows up, becomes a young man, becomes an adult, does some miracles. That's when things get a little bit different. But for the most part, it's just kind of a quiet life and lived in between those two times. And finally, in Palm Sunday, this is getting to be the high point of Jesus' ministry again when people recognize that he is a king. Jesus makes special plans to enter Jerusalem for the last time. He wants everyone to pay attention to him, and that's not in the way that we would think kind of sinfully. Wow, I hope everybody's eyes are on me or something like that. It's not prideful. This is important that people notice that he's here. He's come to die. He's come to win our forgiveness and our freedom from sin. So he wants as many people as possible in Jerusalem to see that he is there and to take notice of what's going to happen over the next few days. And it works. The whole city of Jerusalem is stirred by this event. Jerusalem would kind of swell up to about 3 million people during Passover, so far, far bigger than its normal size. So a lot of people, a lot of visiting Jews would come from the surrounding areas into Jerusalem. So the city is just packed. Not a lot of places to stay during this time. Probably the most well-known part of the story is that Jesus rode in on a donkey, and that actually fulfills Zechariah 9:9. For some of you in the older classes, I don't know if your lessons have you do this, but you may want to look at Zechariah 9:9 because that's pretty amazing. I believe Zechariah was written at least a few hundred years before Palm Sunday, and yet it makes known for sure that Jesus is going to enter on a donkey, which is pretty amazing. Jesus demonstrates his power by knowing that the donkey is going to be waiting there. It says the two disciples, go into the city and you'll find this donkey tied up there, and the owners of this donkey are going to let you take him. So that again shows you that he's true God, that ability to know all things. The fact that this is a donkey instead of a big, powerful horse does show Jesus' humility again. Now, if this was an earthly king, they would probably be looking to find the coolest, strongest, fastest horse possible to show, I'm a big deal. I have this fancy horse. I have the best horse. Instead, Jesus picks a donkey, which is kind of like a wheelbarrow for us, and they would pack things on their donkey. It wasn't flashy. It just did its work, and that's kind of Jesus' point. He's a servant. He's not flashy. He's come to do his work, and it's gritty work. It's ugly work. The work that he has to do during Holy Week is very ugly at some points when he's being beaten up and bloodied and bruised and finally crucified, but that's exactly why he's here. Again, you think with the donkey there, this doesn't look like a royal procession. He doesn't have people blasting trumpets or a big, servants following him who are dressed up and things like that. He just has the disciples who, for all intents and purposes, were just a group of kind of dirty fishermen and a tax collector. And so it doesn't really look like, oh, wow, look at this king's coming, but the people react to it. And you see in the notes here, they're moved by faith to praise Jesus. Okay, so make sure the kids understand that. They're not praising Jesus because, wow, this is a really cool parade. It's Jesus on a donkey with 12 guys. So there's no reason for them to react the way that they did. I mean, it's because of faith. It's because by faith they recognize who he is, but they don't understand the full nature of what he's come to do. Just like the disciples didn't, even till the very end, they don't get that he's come to die for them. They don't understand exactly what he's going to do. We'll get to more of that in the teaching section. So they're praising him, and what's really sad is just a few days later on Good Friday, Nobody's there praising him. Nobody's there defending him. That's when they're shouting, let his blood be on us and on our children. So how quickly, just a few days, how quickly their attitude can turn. They spread their cloaks on the ground, their outer cloak, kind of like we would think of an outer coat. They spread that on the ground. That was a symbol of respect, for a king. That his feet wouldn't even touch the ground, or the horse's feet wouldn't even touch the ground. They're saying Hosanna to the Son of David, which really means praise be to the Son of David, which does, it indicates that they have some understanding that Jesus is fulfilling prophecy. To say that he's the Son of David means that they recognize, okay, God promised him, but they still don't understand what the Messiah was supposed to do. Some of the teaching items: Jesus was aware he had come to Jerusalem to die. That's huge. That's a really big point to make. Maybe it seems small, but the reason it's so big is you realize Jesus is not a helpless victim. He is not a victim of the Roman soldiers or the Jewish leaders that were just too strong for him. Jesus willingly comes to this city and enters it on Palm Sunday, knowing this is the last time he will enter the city alive. So he goes this way to demonstrate his love for us. Jesus is our King because he conquers sin, death, and the devil. He did that by his life, perfect life, innocent death, and rising from the dead. A lot of people, including most of the disciples, thought he was just there to save them from the Romans, which would have been awesome. That would have been a pretty great thing to be freed from the Romans, but what Jesus actually did was way more important than that by assuring us of a place in heaven. And maybe the final teaching item here: the joy of this day, as we indicated earlier, stands in contrast to just a few days later on Good Friday. So Jesus enjoys with his disciples kind of this last big hurrah. He'll do some teaching during Passion Week, and then finally he will die at the end of the week, and everyone will desert him. Finally, the last illustration idea I had was just that idea of someone entering a place with all eyes on them. One thought I had was at a wedding. You think of at the reception, they'll have the grand march where all the wedding party will come in, and then everyone will stand up for the bride and the groom. Why? Well, it's out of honor, out of respect. It's their special day. Or maybe if a wedding doesn't work, the other idea I had was either a basketball game or a football game. The players are off to the side. Then the announcer calls them, introduces them, and they run out, and kind of everybody's standing and cheering. That's what happened on Palm Sunday. Everybody is standing and cheering because Jesus has come to the city to be their king and to win. Okay, thank you.